Hey, welcome to Build and Bond with Big Bro, and today we're doing the radio, the iconic, part of the icon line, the retro radio, and I'm really excited to do this with you. So get some coffee, get something to drink, get a snack, come join me, let's build together. So this is Lego set 10334. This is from the Icons line. This is the retro radio, and it's a big box actually, 906 pieces. So I feel like there's probably a big manual in here. I haven't done this before. If you're new to the channel, what we do is we build together. You can watch me build, you can build along with me, you can build whatever you want at the same time. And I like to sort of share what this makes me think of. So I think building is a feel-good activity, and it should be always that way. So we're going to pause every once in a while, and we'll talk a little bit about what makes us feel good when we're building. So are you ready to get started? Okay, here we go. So I'm going to open this on up. So we got the punch here open, so no need to cut it open this time, which is good. Let's have a look inside here. Lots, oh gosh, lots. Yep, that is true. One of the things that I like to do is, once I've opened it, I like to put the box aside. I always tell you this, I like to do this because it's more of a surprise then. So one of the great things about building Lego is sometimes you're not really sure what's actually happening when we're putting things together. The construction techniques are so cool. So I always put the box aside so I can be surprised at the end of like where we are and not be thinking ahead about what's happening. So I will put the icon though in the corner the whole time so that you all know exactly what it is that we're working on. All right. Okay, there are lots of bags. Great, we got this, which I think is the warning about the battery. And then we have our manual. So in here, lots of good information. Oh, good information about the transistor radio, which was kind of fun. One of the things I learned in getting ready to do this today was that the transistor radio, the first ones were available in 1954. So that's a while ago, and that must have been a giant leap forward. They didn't look quite like this one. This wasn't the original one. But that meant people could take music with them or take the radio stations with them. So it was really whatever was being broadcast on AM you could listen to. So not really everything. So we take for granted being able to just carry music with us in our pocket all the time, or access it wherever we want. But that was really revolutionary, being able to like get out on the road and not be in your car or at your house and still listen to the radio is pretty cool. Innovation is really all around us, right? All right, so I've gone through the manual. I did all my own reading. You can do that yourself. Time to get out my buckets. I love to use these clear buckets. They're so easy and so simple to use. And they keep everything from running all over the table, which I love. Keeps things organized. If I have to stop in the middle of it and clean the table up, I can do that. And I always have my slush, so I'll be using that throughout as well. All right, let's go. As we are getting set up here, I have a thought for you, and that is, radios are about tuning into specific things, and I'm just curious if you had a frequency, what do you think it would be? So what do you think is your frequency? Kind of a strange question to ask, I understand, but it is important, I think, to think about what it is that is vibing with you, right? What is it that makes you tick? What makes you happy? It could be a lot of different things. But sometimes we just forget what that is and sort of move through life. So it's always good to be mindful of that. All right, let's build. So one of the things that I do when I build is I take the pieces out and put them onto the instructions. So I like to be I want to make sure I've got everything before I build. Then I build the page is what I do. So it's just how I like to do it. Of course, you can do it however you want, but I thought I would explain what you're seeing when I'm doing this, because it can look a little strange sometimes. Right back at it. So partway through bag one, and a couple of building mysteries. This is why I like to not look at the picture while I'm drawing, while I'm building, because I want to know. But there's a couple of things here that are curious to me. So number one is you have this very long flat piece here that you're going to cover up, though, in the instructions with this. So why not just make the one below it with studs on top? That always is curious to me. And then the same thing on the other side here, you have this piece, this little gray bullion brick. But again, you're going to cover it up. So, and why? So why not just use a regular stud brick? I guess you get some interesting texture on the side here like this, but I'm always curious, like, what are these decisions? Okay, back to building. So with that, we finished bag one, and we got a good little base here. I guess it's going to be that way. I'm not really sure. I can't really tell the orientation yet. That's part of the fun. Some interesting builds in here for sure, and some pieces that are being have a mysterious use, I think, yet to be explained. But again, more solid than I thought it would be. I only have two pieces left over. They go into my slush bin. And so this is the beginning. So we're going to move on to bag two in just a second. Now we're ready to go move on to bag two. This is going to be a fun build, I can really tell. I like building everything, but this is really fun. I was thinking about radios and stuff too, and about music, right? You can't build this without thinking about music. Do you have favorite music? Do you listen to music when you build? That's a really good question. I'm curious. Sometimes I do. So if I'm not doing this with you, I will put on music in the background, and it's usually instrumental for me. I like better than, so I mean just with no vocals. So I like all kinds of music, but I don't like to pay attention to what they're saying. So I'm focused on this. I'm really curious. I'd love to know what you use as your background when you're building. Do you like a lot of stimuli, or do you like nothing at all? There's no wrong answer. You have to do it how it works for you, right? So I want to know. All right, so bag two. So we've just finished bag two, and it's really cool because we've definitely, you can see that we've put together the mechanism for inside for going up and down the dial on the radio itself, which is really cool. Again, it's going back to that idea of finding frequency. I encourage you, if you don't know what your frequency is, I'm using that word very loosely, but that idea of like, what is your passion? What is it that makes you happy in your core self? What is that thing? And it's important. This radio, I think, is really interesting because it's the idea of like trying to discover for yourself what that is. We're so used to having people just tell us what those things are, right? That's how we start our life. And people tell us what is good to do and what you should be doing and what they want you to be. Remember, you should be a doctor, right? Things as simple as that. We get told a lot. It's not till later that we get a chance to really discover our frequency for ourselves and find out what it is that really makes us tick. So if you don't know what that is, be patient with yourself. Give yourself that gift. You deserve that. We don't all know right away, and it can change over time, but that's why the dial keeps moving, so that you can keep looking. Okay, so there was a part that was really confusing me, so I'm going to show you in case you build this. It might help you. So I'm going to go to the overhead camera here for a second. So there's a section here where you're attaching the knob of the radio onto the radio itself, and you build this top piece and stick it on, but then it's not angled properly, and we're so used to in Lego to be a traditional joint or a connection. But here, what you're doing is you're actually moving it just a little bit until it sits down in there. So that, again, that's a very non-Lego kind of, traditionally non-Lego kind of way to do it. But it really makes a difference. So now I can move forward, but I was stressing out a little bit. So now when you turn the dial, you actually hear a bit of a click, which is the purpose. All right, let's keep going. Wow, I finished bag number 3, and there's pieces left over, which is always fun. I love that. And they go into my slush. All right. But I have to say, I knew this was going to be an intricate part of the build, and it really is. There's like a lot going on here, and I'm going to point out some things that I think are really spectacular in the way they did them. So I do love the fact that you've got your, I haven't done the dial yet, but to be able to change the dial, I think is amazing. For the first time ever, it is actually a little red version of the wand that we get from Harry Potter, which is great. I love stickers, so I was disappointed that we don't get to put this sticker on, but it's great to have these printed pieces here and also on the off and the on part of the dial here, which is nice. So it really makes it more sophisticated looking, I think, in the end. You're guaranteed to get a good look. There were some incredible, interesting build pieces and elements going on here. So it's a really fun build in that way, but it's something you have to concentrate on. So definitely is more of an adult build for sure. But the way things just move, it's just really incredible. So I am super excited to see what happens next and keep going. All right, so are you ready? We're gonna go to bag 4. I love the way this has come together. We're halfway through, and some of the really, I think, intricate stuff has happened already. So we've got the ability to move the dial back and forth, which is really fun. And then also you have the volume, the on and off button, right? So it makes a little click sound, just like the old models used to, which I think is really fun. I hope that you take advantage of your own on and off button. Sometimes turning the volume down or off is important. So I try to take like at least 5 minutes a day where I have no input. I'm just sitting, I close my eyes, I just think, and just let my brain rest a little bit. It's important to do that for me because I get a little bit of a recharge. And I think you deserve that too. You really do. You've got so much stimuli happening all the time that be your own version of the radio and turn off that sound sometimes. It's really critical so that you can rebalance. It's important. All right, let's keep going. So I just turned to step 142, and Lego has a great annotation in here. They do a really good job in the notes. They really give you lots of great information, and they talk about the fact that the first transistor radio was really invented in 1947. So I had said earlier, 1954 was the research I got, but that must have something to do with a later, more commercially available version. So I stand corrected, and I'm going to go with the 1947 number, which is really cool because it means it was coming out right after the Second World War. So really interesting time for advances in technology. So kind of cool. All right, let's keep. these rounded shapes and are just so beautiful. I know, I may be enjoying it too much, but I think it's really stunning looking, and but feels really solid. So now that it's all together, it actually does feel, I have to say, like pretty solid. So, which is really cool. You know, you can see through the dial, which is really fun, and there's room in here, and I know what that's for eventually, but I'm not going to spoil the surprise if you don't know. So. I can't believe we're on to number 7 already. So we've got this beautiful top part, which has the Lego logo on it, like the radio, as if it's the radio logo. I think that's going to go here on the radio. I'm pretty sure. Some incredible building techniques here. There are the way this came together was really a wow for me. There were a lot of, like, you were kind of building half of it upside down and then putting it together, which I think is great. Again, this is part of that reason why I don't like to look at the carton or the artwork while I'm building, because I never know what step we're really doing. What are we really creating? I think taking that wonder into everything in life is important still, right? We think we know, we're so used to like having everything figured out in advance. It's just nice to be able to take a breather and be surprised occasionally. And this one really surprised me. Wow, 2 more bags. Unbelievable. Okay. So this is a really cool model. You know, when I was putting this together, I was thinking about how as a kid, we used to dial back and forth to get onto the right frequency. And that was, we didn't have the push button radio when I was growing up. We only had a couple of channels anyway. But that whole idea, right, of you're listening for the signal in the static. And so when I put this out to display it, that's what I'm going to remember, is that idea of how it feels to listen for the signal in the static in life. There's so much stuff coming at you all the time, and that's what you're constantly doing. And if you don't hear it right away, I promise you, when you listen, when you pay attention, when you relax and just listen for the real sound in the middle of all the static, you're going to find your way. It's really important. To me, that's important. All right, you guys ready? Let's keep going. Let's finish this up. So the radio is looking amazing, and there's one more thing to do, and that is the Soundbrick, which I'm really curious about. I don't know anything about the function of this one in particular, but I'm kind of excited. So let's see how it goes. All right, so the last thing to do is insert the Soundbrick, which is really cool. It's a special feature for this model. And what happens is when you turn the volume on and off, when you turn it on, it actually presses the Soundbrick. And as you keep turning, if you hold it down, it keeps playing more and more radio sounds. So they were all created specifically for this model to kind of mimic the idea of going back and forth on the dial, and what are you going to hear different radio stations pop in, which is really a great play feature. It says what we do is we go to the back and we just put our finger here and flip this off. So that's pretty straightforward, right? Then we have our Soundbrick. We put this here and it goes, wait, let's make sure I've got it the right way. It's that way and that way. And then I put it in here. Well, we've finished our radio, but there's one more play feature that I wanted to share with you that I didn't realize was a thing until we were doing it together. So if you look in the back, actually, there is this really cool space. And maybe it was advertised, I just missed it, but it's a place for you to actually put your own phone in. So what's wonderful about it is you can actually pretend that you are actually using it as a radio. And then you can listen to your own tunes. So I think that's super fun. I think it makes it really, I'm gonna definitely do that with this. I can't wait. I can't do it right now because I'm actually using the phone to film this. But it's not a fun feature. So here's our finished radio. I think it's really a great build. There are a lot of great features about it, a lot of great playability. You've got the antenna, you've got the handle that goes both ways. You can open it up at the back. It has the on and off buttons as well, so you can turn it on and off. It has the Soundbrick, which I took out just for the end here so I could turn this on. You have the ability to move the dial just like you would on a regular one, which I think is really incredible. It's an overall a really solid build, and it looks great. The color, that mint color, is so authentic. It gives me that retro vibe, which I really love. So overall, to me, this is one of those really terrific builds that I've been waiting for a long time, and it did not disappoint. I will say a couple of negatives for me were that there were a couple of moments where the instructions were a little complicated for me to be able to figure out. So exactly where things went. I had to take things apart a couple of times and put them back together to get things to really adjust. I do actually need to go through and really work on the Soundbrick component again. I made it work, but I don't think it's as smooth as it should be. So I'm going to go back in and fix that. But overall, it's really super fun. You know, we talked a lot about dialing into your own frequency and listening for the message through the static. All of those things that this is going to remind me of every time I look at it, which is really fun. So it's going to help me stay focused on being true to myself in a way too. That's a lot from a toy, but pretty amazing. So as always, the best part of this build was doing it with you. And so whether or not you have this particular set, whether you have any Lego set, when it comes to life, remember, you got this. All right, I'm going to clean up. Hope you come back and build with me sometime.